Yes. Anybody else? Sir, you had a question?
Well, Don Oreskowitz, Gordon Road. If you hear about the benefits for Franklin, what are the major benefits of this mining going to be for Franklin?
Well, were you here last night?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the jobs that were possibly?
Well, yeah, but you know, truck driving jobs, basically, that's going to be that. You know, but how's that going to help Franklin?
Well, okay, here, I'll use an example. 2 years ago, I put in the paper for a part-time person at $14 an hour with no benefits, only guaranteeing him 2 days in the wintertime unless it snowed, and 3 days in the summertime unless we have a big project. I had 21 applications, 11 of them were from the town of Franklin, residents, okay? The other 10, if you don't agree with that, I can provide you.
Yeah.
We don't, there are people jumping out of the walls for jobs in Franklin.
Well, I'm sorry, but I had applications and took interviews from people from Pigeon.
But is that the only benefit, the wages for, I mean, these are going to be truck drivers, more than likely they'd like them to have their own trucks.
Well,
you know,
and then you've got, we're on a tax base that you bring industry in here, and all of a sudden we're on an equalized value. So your taxes have got the possibility of going down because they'll adjust the mill rate.
Getting at is this, I mean,
well, this is all
listening to these trucks.
Is it a benefit? Is this a benefit to Leroy, Dave, and I? No, we're here to go and just put this out to you. You asked what the benefit was.
That's what I'm asking.
The tax base, the jobs that are going to be available for around here. It's a snowball effect. There's other things that could be involved.
Okay, so there's nothing out of their operation that is going to go directly to Franklin.
Well, if they fill out a personal property
sheet. Or is that
sheet,
something we can throw in when we do?
If they fill out a personal property sheet, we get the personal property taxes that stays right here.
For them.
So,
is that equipment, our manufacturing equipment is exempt from personal property. And if I understand the way it works, if you have machinery and it's involved in the process where you take something and you take it and turn it into something else or sell it as a product, which is what they will be doing, is that their equipment probably or could be exempt from personal property tax. And that
not a
means
legal expert
you will
on that,
get
I don't
nothing
know.
from that. So
I would have to talk to the assessor.
that's something that you guys should check about because
I talked to the assessor, and I can address this. He said the personal property is probably going to be tax exempt. If they work 15 acres at a time, and those 15 acres would be taxed, assessed at approximately $8,000 to $12,000 per acre. So if they work 15,000 acres at a time, and say that those 15 acres are assessed at $10,000 per acre, the total assessed value is $150,000. The mill rate is 2.3, which means that $150,000, the total property tax that they, or real estate tax they would pay per year would be $3,450. The town of Franklin's percentage of that is 12.8%, which is $441.60.
yeah, that's exactly what we thought.
Well, can you guys?
Well, yes, this is the increase that would be above, because only the acres that they're working can be assessed at this higher rate.
The rest of the property was still.
The rest of the property would be assessed at, whatever it is now. As,
And you did say
managed for it.
the personal property, which is the equipment, is
Is
probably
probably going to be exempt. And the personal property is taxed the same way. So however hundreds of thousands or millions is still going to be quite the same. Personal property is the same amount. And I found out too, we don't keep all personal property tax. That was a misconception. We only keep 12% of all the taxes. Everything else goes to Jackson County and the schools.
I stand corrected. I haven't been had a chance to talk to the assessor and all those others. So
I did.
anybody else, sir?
And I'm the tax collector, so I'm the treasurer, if you don't know. So,
Now ordinances, they're designed to protect the greater good of the people there, right, in that particular area. And in theory, we're a democracy. So if you had the majority of the people against it, you would think that we wouldn't want to have an ordinance for mining. Is there a possibility of putting something like this to a referendum? Putting it on November, I don't know if they can get it on the November 7th one, but I mean, is there a way that you could actually have the residents of the township say, you know, then it's a moot point. It's a democracy. If there's 100 residents and 51 of them say no, then bye-bye boys, you know, take your sand and go play in your Tonka toys somewhere else.
The only thing I would say about that, Pete, is keep in mind this is a township under county zoning,
Yeah.
and the county board is going to be the final authority on this. I don't think a referendum, a petition signed
Well,
in an election would be nothing more than an advisement to them.
well, it'd be a pretty strong advisement if the majority of the people in that particular township did not want it.
But it would
There
still,
are people who think that you're gonna make a big bunch of bucks on this.
but it would still be an
You win,
advisement.
more power to you, but I don't really want it, I'm sorry.
Okay, anybody else like to say, ma'am?
I'm just gonna keep it really short and simple. As a taxpayer and a landowner, I think you should have an expectation that you should be able to do what you want to on your own property. Secondly, I see the sand mine as a wonderful opportunity to improve the quality of so many lives in this area, not just in Franklin, but in the county of Jackson and the state of Wisconsin. I'd like to see my nieces and nephews, my great nieces and nephews, grow up to be able to own a home, to drive a car to town without having to worry about it breaking down every 15 minutes. I'd like to have them be able to have an education if they wanted one. And at this time with the unemployment rates the way they are and jobs as scarce as they are, I don't see that happening, and it makes me very sad. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Could you state your name, please?
Claudia Singleton.
Tom?
I just wanted to add a little bit about the job issue. I know that is really important, and I agree with Claudia. I mean, it's important that we all have jobs and are able to make a living. I have heard recently, and I think it's true, that there's going to be a really large sand mine that's going to develop between Hickston and Taylor, closer to Hickston. You've probably all heard this. And there's going to be another one up near Alma Center. The reason they're developing them there is because they're near the railroad. And that's what we don't have here. And that's what makes this a very bad site for sand. You're 10 miles from a railroad. And you're on county roads that are crooked, they're steep, there's no shoulder. We've got a huge Amish population here. And they haven't spoken. They don't usually complain about stuff like this. But I'm telling you, if you put that kind of traffic, big trucks, on this kind of road at night or even in the day, you're just going to have an accident. It's just a matter of time. Somebody's going to get killed. And it's just not worth it. There are much more efficient ways to develop sand. And it's always on a railroad. It's not 10 miles from a railroad. Trucks are not going to be involved before long. The fuel costs are too high. And you just need to know that. I mean, there's no point in doing this. There's no point in wrecking the township so you can truck sand when you can build these things right on the railroads. And that's the way to do it. I mean, sand is necessary, I think, to develop petroleum. But it's not a good idea for Franklin Township. I'm Mr. Wharton. This is Mr. Wharton right here. For those of you fellows over there that were unable to figure out what Wharton was, this is a Wharton descendant right here. That's for you guys in the Cooley Frack gallery there. This guy right here. So just so you know that. Thank you.
I've been kind of staying moved on this whole thing. I'm on the zoning committee. We've worked very hard to put this ordinance together. It protects the people in Franklin. It protects your property value. It's probably close to 30-some pages long. All it lightly. We have worked very hard to protect these citizens and to look out in all of your own favors. And what the board was saying is there is a huge difference in opinion on this subject. And I agree with Dennis Wortman that, his family homesteaded the area and wants to keep it natural. I'm from a homesteading family myself. I have 80 acres on the top of Wortman Ridge. I have 2 other neighbors down the road that also own a huge part of Wortman Ridge. And what I'd like to say about the trucking and the unsafe roads is there is a lot of gravel trucks that drive around on our roads. And I've never had a problem with any of our gravel drivers, our dump truck drivers, or anything being unsafe. I have encountered a lot of milk trucks that are very unsafe, especially in the winter, and I've almost been ran off the road by a few of them. And I don't think that it would be right to try to run dairy farmers out of our area because their trucks are dangerous on the roads. So I hope that everybody can be a little bit more cordial in their opinions on the subject. The board has been great with taking people's thoughts, their calls, their emails, all the information, and they haven't taken it lightly. So if everybody can just take it down a little step and appreciate what they've done in the last year to consider all of this long before this last 3 or 4 months have came up. It's been in their forefront, protecting us. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. We're gonna cut this short. I want to thank everybody for coming last night, tonight, and last month's meeting and voicing your views, your comments, your concerns. We appreciate your input. Hopefully everybody's satisfied with the outcome. Yeah, the ones that aren't satisfied, I'm sorry. But basically this is it. The petition was voted down, so that's the way it stands right now. So I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.